Fruitful Pursuits Shiro Plum 2023.
A gold plum varietal.
Yeah.
So you do get that ripe plum, but those notes that are characteristic of the Shiro plums, the floral, the really big honey notes, the melon kind of character, and then end note of baking spices.
Hey, it's a good beer. I'm very biased, but you should try it yourself. All right, folks, you heard it here. Spicy Pits. Hi, my name is Greg Zestruk from the Blend.We Brewing Company, and today we're doing some release notes for upcoming beer, Fruitful Pursuits Shiro Plum 2023. This brand new, fresh, and delightful beer is coming out in a couple weeks, and we are here to taste it. This is being filmed on March 10th, 2025, and as always, we cheated and had it before, so we can give you the best possible experience when we're tasting. So I'm here, of course, with Doug Chaknita, the head brewer and blender at the Blend.We Brewery, and he's going to open the bottle. So as we talk about this one, obviously it's plums, but it's a different kind of plum. It's Shiro Plum. So what's the story on the old Shiro?
Yeah, so those that know our products know that we also do another plum beer that we just call Fruitful Pursuits Plum.
That's the traditional, like, purpley plums.
Yeah. So those use a variety called President's and Damson plums, so two varieties. It turns out those, the Damson plums the trees only bear fruit every other year. So in 2023, when we were looking to get our plum fruit, we couldn't get our plum fruit. So we looked at a bunch of different varieties of fruit that we could maybe switch to, and the Shiro plums came up. And they're unique in that they are a yellow, like a gold plum varietal.
Yeah. Let me turn these so you can see them. There you go. I'm making life difficult for Doug by moving the glasses around while he's pouring. I want to keep this interesting. And I think they were sort of specially, I think the very origin may be Japanese, but they were bred for North America, I heard. Is that something correct, or am I wrong?
Yeah, that's correct. So Shiro, it's kind of like most fruits in North America, there's kind of like a mixed heritage with them, and kind of a mixed story. So it seems like they were kind of bred in two different areas, both for California and for Canada. Obviously, these ones being from the Okanagan, supplied to us by Stephen Dan's Fresh Species Fruit. But yeah, when it came up that we needed to pick a new variety for 2023 or a different fruit, the Shiros stood out because of their light color. So gonna differentiate color-wise from our other plum beer, but also they're characterized by like a honey-dew melon kind of quality to them, really bright, really the opposite ends of like the kind of more rich red plum varietals.
Got it.
So definitely seemed like a interesting, cool opportunity, and had never seen them in anything before.
So picking up, now we will try this delicious beer. Cheers. Shiro Plum. Whew, it smells great. Color on this one, I mean, like we said, this is not a typical, what we think of as plum color, but this is, of course, typical for Shiro Plum. Yeah,
being a yellow plum, they're going to be a lot more like peach beers or other light stone fruits, where they're going to add some color, but again, the color is going to be very similar to our base beer, so if anything, it might dilute it a little bit. And then, as you can see, it's got a light haze to it.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But plums are also a high pectin fruit. So that pectin will stay in solution a little bit longer, making for a slightly hazy product.
Right. Smells fabulous. I mean, when you smell this, what are you getting?
Yeah, it's very robustly plum, and
it's still very plummy, even though the color is a little different. Right?
Yeah, and Shiro plums are still plums, even though they're a lighter varietal. So you do get that ripe plum, but those notes that are characteristic of the Shiro plums, the floral, the really big honey notes, the melon kind of character, and then like all plums, you get like a kind of like end note of baking spices.
Yeah, it's great.
That
baking spice at the end, the spice is really nice. It's pretty intense. I mean, again, not overly intense, but again, with all our fruit beers, because we use whole fruit, because we let them ferment on the fruit for months, it's pretty intense flavor.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of need to, especially when using like a lighter stone fruit, you need to put in quite a bit to get the flavors to come through, or else they can come across like a little dilute. But Shiros are definitely like a sharper plum, so they have more acidity than your typical like eating plum you get at the grocery store and ripened on the tree for when we get them. So they're going to be a little more robust as well. And those flavors come through a lot in the flavor. So
I don't find it comes across too acidic, though. Like the acidity is really nice in this. Like it seems, as always, you guys have balanced it well. I mean, the barrel selections you guys made in conjunction with the beer, like showcase it lovely.
Yeah, there'll be definitely the tartness specifically from like the plum skins. There's always going to be a little bit more tartness from that. The goal is always balance. And we had never really worked with Shiro Plums before.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't. We'd worked with other plums. So we took some cues from that, but just tasting the plums and then going from there to find like that good balance of different vintages of barrels as well as the right flavors within those barrels.
It's a mixed fermentation blend. So mixed fermentation. What was that? Do you remember the years on it?
It's a blend of 1, 2, and 3 year. We tend to like gravitate to those blends of like those 3 vintages just because they bring the full spectrum of the flavors of our beer, the thyme elements or the elements that come from thyme in barrel as well as the fresh elements. And plum, especially the Shiro plums, lend themselves to a lot of like the fresh elements too. So you need to balance it out.
Texture.
Yeah.
I mean, you get this. You get that fruit. There's a fruit texture in there in some way.
Yeah, you're getting almost the sensations of eating the fruit. It's like velvety and round. Like with most plums, that tartness and the acidity of it like really gives it like a full texture as well. So
and killed it on the carbonation. I mean, this is a little higher carb. Like what was the goal in the carbonation on this one?
Because the fruit and the beer was like quite tart, we're looking for like that, like the carb to kind of like match that, the carbonation. So we wanted this one like bright and fizzy and effervescent. So we went with like a little bit of a stronger carb here to match the character of the beer.
I mean, it's
medium high kind of idea.
Really delicious. I think again, hey, it's a good beer. I'm very biased, but you should try it yourself. So flavor on this one. I mean, we talked about the aroma a fair amount. What do you get on the flavor?
Yeah, so you're getting like back into a lot of some of those similar notes with the ripeness, the honey, and the floral, but in the flavor, I find like the aromatics could be a little bit more subtle or a little bit subtle, but in the aromatics, it really comes out like you kept saying punchy, and it's definitely punchy in the aroma. You get like that big juicy plum character, but and then the honey and the floral are definitely there, but the spice definitely comes through a lot more in the flavor. You're gonna get some baking spice. I believe one of the suggestions was coconut. When we were tasting this before, which it comes through like fresh coconut, like very subtle.
Yeah. Well, I find that also like plum beers tend to have like that spiciness especially as they age, that becomes more prominent as well. Yeah. So as we do future reports, you'll hear about that probably.
With the plums, we add a small amount of the pits back in, and the pits really add like the amaretto, some of the spices, those kind of character to it. So there is a huge amount of the spice note that comes from that as well.
Are you saying we use spicy pits?
Sure.
All right, folks, you heard it here. Spicy pits. Actually, regular pits, but they have to be spicy. Enjoy. I mean, we don't know when they'll make this again, so if you really want to try it, definitely pick it up and give it a shot. We hope you like it. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.